All right, so once we have organized our quantitative data, we can go ahead and visualize it. We can draw pretty pictures. So for quantitative data, we're going to use a histogram, which is very similar to a bar chart or a bar graph, except that there is no space between the rectangles. Okay, and then the way that we label that horizontal axis is going to be just a little bit different as well. So here we have a different example of exam scores from a sample of 20 students from their final exam. So these values are a little bit different than the ones that we were just working with, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and make a histogram. So the histogram is going to start the same way as the bar chart did. We're going to start with a horizontal line and a vertical line. Okay, we're going to go ahead and label the horizontal line as the exam scores. It's not how you spell exam. Just trying to put a C. Exam scores. And then I'm going to go ahead and label the vertical axis, and we'll go ahead and do this one with relative frequencies. Relative frequencies. All right. So now our exam scores start at 50 and go up to 99. So what I'm going to do on this horizontal axis is I'm going to just label the first number in each class. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to make a tick mark for 50, and then I'm going to go ahead and make one for 60. And then evenly spaced, I'm going to do 70, 80, 90, and then I am going to go ahead and pretend that there was one more row in my table for 100. So I'm just going to label the first number in each row for the groups that we have for the exam scores. And now the relative frequencies, our highest relative frequency is 0.45. So we need to go to at least 0.45 on the vertical axis. So I'm going to do 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and then in between, in the middle of each of these, I'm going to add just the tick mark for where that half would be so that I can see where 0.45 is going to be, but I'm not going to label it because that's just going to make everything look a little too messy. So I'm going to start with 50 to 59, which has a relative frequency of 0.15. So I'm going to start on the 50. I'm going to draw up to 0.15, which would be right here. I'm going to come across, and then I'm going to drop this down right on top of the 60. And that's my first bar. And again, we can color these in, we can leave them not, it doesn't matter. So this first bar says that we had 15%, or a relative frequency of 0.15 of students score from 50 up to but not including 60. If a student scored a 60, they would be in the next bar. However, notice from 60 to 69, we didn't have any students. Nobody scored between 60 and 69. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a gap here. I'm not going to draw anything. And I'm going to go over to 70 to 79, which has a relative frequency of 0.45. So starting on the 70, I'm going to come all the way up to 0.45, which is about right there-ish. I might have to do a little bit of erasing. I'm going to have to do a little bit of erasing. Okay, and I'm going to come across, and then it would drop down on the 80. So that's where that second guy goes. Okay, I'm just cleaning this up a little bit. Again, you can shade this in if you want. So we have a gap here because nobody scored between 60 and 69. Now, 80 to 89, we had 5 students, which was a relative frequency of 0.25. So on my 80 line, I'm starting at 80, I'm going to come up to 0.25, which is right here. Yep, right there. I'm going to come across and I'm going to drop it down on the 90. Now notice the bars are touching each other. And then 90 to 99, we had 3 students, relative frequency 0.15. So this guy should be the same height as the first one. Bring it across, drop it down on the 100. That's not quite on the 100. Let me see if I can do that a little bit better. There we go. And then just erase my little bit of extra there. And then since I'm coloring these in, I'll go ahead and color that guy in. And there is our histogram of the exam scores for these students on their final exam in statistics. That's a histogram. So notice difference here between the bar chart is now the bars are touching and our data was quantitative. It was numerical. So another way that we can organize quantitative data is through a stem and leaf plot. So with a stem and leaf plot, each data value gets split into a stem and a leaf. The leaf is the rightmost digit, and the stem is any digit to the left. Ooh. The leaf is the rightmost digit, and the stem is the digits to the left of that leaf. That is a typo. That should say left. I apologize. And our data values are arranged in order. So we're going to look at just one number real quick. I'm going to pull the number 74. So if I'm looking at the number 74, the rightmost digit is going to become my leaf. So here's the rightmost digit. This becomes my leaf. And then anything to the left of that is the stem. So if I look at another number, if I look at the number 80, the 0 is the leaf, and the 8 is the stem. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my stem and leaf by drawing a vertical line. It's not a very straight line. Let's see if I can make that a little bit straighter. That's a little better. So on the left side of this line is going to be our stems, and the right side is going to be our leaves. And you don't have to label these. Okay. So the smallest value in this data set is the number 50. Now 50 is going to have a stem of a 5 by itself. The largest data value in my data set is the number 100. 100 would have a leaf of 0 and a stem of 10. So my smallest data value has a stem of 5. My largest data value has a stem of 10. So I need to list all of the numbers that are in between there. So my stems are going to be the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the 5 stem will represent any number in the 50s. The 6 is all the numbers in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. So it's fairly similar actually to how we organized our data in our relative frequency table. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at the numbers in the 50s. So I have a 50 and I have a 57. So I'm going to go ahead, my leaves are going to be a 0 and a 7. It's the number in the ones place for these two data values. Then I'm going to look for the numbers in the 60s. And in this case, we don't have any numbers in the 60s. So I'm not going to put anything on that row. I'm not going to put a 0. I'm not going to put a line. I'm just going to leave that row blank to show that there were no numbers in the 60s. Just like up here on our histogram, where we left this spot blank because there were no numbers in the 60s, we're going to leave this spot blank as well. So now I'm going to look at the 70s. So I have 74, 5, 7, 2, 2, 6, 2, 3. Oh, and then another 7. There's a lot of numbers in the 70s. Oh, I missed a 50. I missed a 50. There's a 58 here. Squeeze that guy in. I apologize. I missed a 50. It happens. Okay, so my smallest 70 is a 72. And I had 3 of those. So I want to label all of them. And then we have 73, 74, 75, 76, 77. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers in the 70s. So I should have 9 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm missing one. 1, 2, 3, 7. Oh, there are 2 77s. Make sure you label both of them. Okay, and now I'm going to look at the numbers that I have in the 80s. So we have 80, 81, 82, 83, 83. So 80, 81, 82, 83, 83. Then the 90s, 92, 94. And finally 100 is just going to be the 0. So now I have 20 data values. I should have 20 leaves. I apologize if you could hear that. Those are my cats. So I have 20 data values. I should have 20 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I didn't miss any data values in here. Okay, they're all in order. Now if you have a lot of numbers, or, like the 70s, we had 9 numbers in the 70s. If you need to list them out and then go back and put them in order, that's okay. But your final stem and leaf should show the numbers in order. And now we have 2 ways to visualize quantitative data: stem and leaf and our histograms.